really hope so.
Welcome to The Talk, live on Talk TV, the home of straight talking. I'm Sharon Osbourne, and I'd like to thank you all for all the great messages you sent us last night. And so please keep sending them in, whether they're nice or not. We just want to read them, so thank you.
Keep them coming. We enjoy getting them. Good evening, I'm Jeremy Kyle, and tonight we're talking about former Radio 1 DJ Tim Westwood's sexual misconduct allegations. We'll ask, are millennials too demanding in the workplace? And, as Madonna splits from her toy boy lover, we're discussing if a cougar can ever be lucky in love. Joining me and Mrs O on the panel tonight, political commentator Esther Kraku, celebrity chef and broadcaster Tonya Buxton, and journalist JJ Anisiobi. Now, I'll get us started with our top story, and it's one that makes for pretty alarming reading. Nearly a quarter of Brits are struggling to pay their bills as the cost of living really spirals. There are warnings. Another 1.3 million people will fall into the poverty trap next year, including, this is unbelievable, 500,000 children. Now, Boris Johnson's now ordered ministers to draw up emergency plans to slash food prices and tackle the crisis. And early tonight, in an exclusive interview, Talk TV's Tom Newton-Dunn challenged the PM on these proposals.
What we're doing is making sure that we do everything in our power to help people with the pressures on their family budget. We're helping people by cutting council tax, by making sure that we support people who are facing particular hardship, putting more money into local councils.
So is it right that the state steps in? The government's already committed £22 billion worth of support. The big question is, to start tonight, should we, the British public, be tightening our belts?
I think so, but I think, you know, Margaret Thatcher, who's I'm a huge fan of, she said it best when she said, if you can run a home, you can run a country. Yeah. At the moment, we're looking to the government to solve this crisis, the cost of living crisis, because they caused it, right? Borrowing last year was 94% of GDP, which is completely irresponsible. And I think that the bigger issue here is, why does the government think that now we have to bear the brunt for something that they have caused? They are the reason why our economy is in the state that it's in. And you can, you know, agree or disagree with the lockdown measures or all the things that they did to try and get us through this COVID period. But at the end of the day, they are responsible for this. They are the ones raising national insurance. They are the ones raising taxes on businesses, on individuals, and they should be the ones responsible for solving this.
My thing is slightly, a bit like you say with Thatcher. My mum, I always imagined this ledger. At the end of every month, the ledger was credit and debit. And let's be honest, the older generation did not buy what they couldn't afford. If they didn't have the money, they didn't pay for it. They didn't put it on credit. They didn't put it, you know, somewhere and say, we'll pay for it later. And there was this sort of accountability. And, you know, people nowadays will say, but we're aspirational. Are we, or are we a bit greedy? Do we want stuff too quickly? The latest house, the nicest car, all the right sort of clothes? And what really winds me up about this cost of living crisis, and it's real, it's absolutely on the way, the biggest for decades. I don't understand how nobody saw this coming. This isn't something that's happened in 5 minutes. Why on earth, right? Why on earth is any government not able to approach the fact that there are people across this country right now who cannot heat their homes and feed their kids? That's despicable, Mrs O, in 2022. It's wrong.
Of course it's wrong, but the government know that. And it's the same all around the world right now. Every government is in trouble. Yeah. Nobody's got any money. And, you know, everybody says it's COVID. And what is the government going to do? The only thing the government will do, really, is raise taxes.
The problem is, as you said, Esther, that the government put us in this position. I mean, Sweden's not suffering because they had sense and behaved really well during the lockdown period and the pandemic period. You know, they kind of frittered money on furlough payments, on their COVID response. And unfortunately, the government now, I mean, I'm not one of these people that blames the government for everything, but in this one, they're to blame and they have to help people. And one of the things that really gets to me is this green levy that we've got. You know, it says here that if we they're adding £153 to the average energy bill. So if they just got rid of that, that would really help, because people are counting their pennies now. It's not just a situation where they go. It's
the
literally
cost of
pennies,
fuel, the cost of bread,
everything.
Everything has gone up.
The national insurance is going up by 1.25%. We're having all these increases, and what we need to do is just stop all of that and bring it all down and help people in this situation.
Do you think it's a combination? Because there's no doubt, you're right. I think there are several things the government can do. That national insurance 1.25 hike. Apparently, sources tell us this morning that there were voices in Cabinet saying, that needs to be looked at, Boris. And there's the windfall tax. We've got Shell and BP making billions whilst people's energy bills are going through the roof. And you think, well, you give something, but I don't move away from the fact that we probably have to do something ourselves, JJ, as well. Is it a combination of both, do you think?
It is, but I think the government should be helping with, energy bills. For this month, millions of households are going to be paying about £700 more a year because the price cap has been raised. Electricity and gas is going through the roof, but we can do a bit more ourselves. I think between the households and supermarkets, we are throwing away enough food, and there's enough food waste to be feeding 30 million people. Meanwhile, 2.5 million last year were using food banks.
But I think if we're going to take this approach, then the government should have to do a lot as well and slim down its spending. I mean, we were arguing yesterday about whether civil servants should go back to the office, right? The government needs to take this approach if it expects everyone else to do that. There's so much wastage in government spending, in the NHS, for instance. All these things that the government... Exactly. All these things that the government can do to actually cut down its spending as it expects us to, because we're going through a rough patch in the economy.
Government's also to blame for teaching people and paying them for staying home. The furlough, the whole furlough thing taught people that money grows on trees, and you don't have to work.
Nobody wants to go back to work.
That's
nobody.
Exactly it.
And it was the same as after the lockdown was over. There were no truck drivers again because they didn't want to go. I don't blame them. I mean, it's a terrible job. But nobody wanted to go back and drive a truck.
But they had to increase the wages of the truck drivers, which is a good thing. So, it appealed to them to go back.
I think furlough was meant well. I think at a time of crisis that nobody had ever thought would happen, I think it was essentially a good thing. But what a lot of people said at the time, and I know you said, was, hold on a minute, you're going to have to pay this back. If you go back initially to what Thatcher said, you can't just print money. The Labour Party did that, and inflation's at 35%. You have to balance the books. And the books in this country are not balanced at all, and we are all going to have to pay for it.
What about all the people whose businesses were lost, out of business, and they have no income now?
And that's the government's fault. So, we have to look to them for that as well. But here's a topic that gets people going. Millennials. An accountant has lost his age discrimination case after his boss told him he was too demanding, like his generation of millennials. It's led one recruiter to say millennials have an inflated sense of entitlement and can't deal with conflict. Millennials make up 35% of the workforce and are said to favour jobs that offer flexibility, a culture of trust, and they like constant communication with the bosses. So are they too demanding in the workplace? Now, Sharon, have you hired many millennials in your time?
Yes, I have. And I find that they don't take direction very well. And at the slightest thing, they whine. It's like, well, do you know what? We've got to take lunch hour at 3. No, I need it at 1. I've made an appointment. I have to meet my friend. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They whine over the slightest things. And I find that the work ethic has gone because everybody wants it easy. That working for it doesn't exist anymore. It's like they watch all the influencers and they see that they work from home and they can, teach you how to put makeup on and what's in fashion and buy this toy for your child and play with the toy and all of this, and they want some of it. And I don't blame them, but if only life were so easy.
Yeah, of course.
Or, they'll go on Love Island, get the old kit off, and then they think, oh, well, if I act like a whatever it is, I'll be rich and famous. And it's just, life isn't that way.
But if you had to hire millennials, have you had to let some of them go then?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you do it?
Very nicely.
Okay.
I do. And
what's the process like?
well, I invite them into my office and I say, sit down, and would you like a cup of tea or something? And then I go, darling, I have something to tell you. And it comes out like that. And then you try and do it nicely and give them some encouragement, and also you have to say why you're not happy with their work ethic.
Yeah. Okay.
Sharon, honestly, you've the patience of a saint, because I've fired so many millennials. I can't be that nice about it to them. They come in, they're lazy, they want to have a full hour for lunch. Sometimes you've got to work through it. I don't give them an hour break. Oh. Sometimes you get no break. And sometimes you've got to work an hour after you've finished, you're supposed to finish. So I say to them, you know what, mate, this job ain't for you. You need to go. I think millennials have it too easy. I think everything for them is at the touch of a button. They're all content creators these days. And really and truly, they don't have the right work ethic that we had and all of us had growing up, of you work hard and you move up.
I'm going to try and be really calm, because there's one word for me... No, there's one word for me that sums up this generation, and it's entitlement, OK? We can all say this, I think. We started at the bottom, and what you put in, the graft you put in, got you to where you were. And there's this sort of feeling, isn't there, amongst, you say, millennials, the younger generation, I deserve everything, I want everything, everybody else has got it, I'm going to do it. I've got 5 kids, and my kids, the minute they hit 16, they have to go and get a job. That is absolutely teach the work ethic, as you quite rightly said, teach the value of money. I was telling earlier, it was in a meeting, about a friend who did very well in his life, and when you've got a bit of money and you've got your kids, how do you best do this? And he came up with a really good idea, which he said to his kids, whatever you earn, I'll double.
Huh?
You're not going to sit, you're not getting a trust fund, I'm not going to wipe your backside. You have got to go and prove in your life that you can achieve something. And I just also want to add, which will go down like a lead balloon, benefits, OK? Because we haven't touched upon this in 2 nights. For me, the greatest invention in the modern world, the welfare state, right? That was the idea. Unfortunately now, apart from a bunch of millennials who think we owe them something, we have a generation who have a career choice, which is go to work, right, go to college, or go on the dole. It wasn't meant for that. That's another reason. There's a lot of laziness, and they need to get off their backsides and go and make a living.
And you say that laziness, there's going to be millennials watching this who are going to say, well, what do we know? We're not millennials, they're not lazy. But the stats prove it. According to a recruitment survey, 37% of people think millennials are too keen on working from home and are lazy.
Do you know, I do blame the parents. You know, I think that every generation thinks the generation after them doesn't work as hard.
Right.
And to be honest, it's true. So my parents were immigrants. They came over. They had more jobs than I can count. They were always working. They had the most incredible work ethic. And then I've got a really good work ethic, but I'm not quite sure my children have got quite the same. But exactly like you. And I don't have to wait. Mine are older, so I've done this. They went to work from 14. They actually worked at my mother-in-law's swimming school. And when they wanted something, for example, if they wanted to buy something expensive, I would say, yes, OK, you put in half and I'll put in the other half. And it made them consider the choices and consider what they were getting. And I think that's the big thing. The problem is today is that there is all that you see on Instagram, and people don't quite realise that you actually have to put the graft and the time in. You do actually have to work.
It goes back to the first thing about money. The older generation saved before they bought something, and they started at the bottom and they worked their way up. And when I talk like this, I say you're turning into your dad, but it's true, isn't it?
But society is teaching them that.
Absolutely.
It's just teaching them you can get a card and you can put it on the never, never, and that's the mistake.
So we're all agreed, millennials, right? You've had it too easy. Get off your backsides, get a job, and make the best of it.
Hold on. I mean, OK, I think a lot of the points that have been raised is fair, but I don't think necessarily entitled is the right word. I think it's more spoiled. And I think, which is not much better.
No.
I think the thing is, we are growing up in a very glossy, social media-driven generation. And we think that all the highlight reels of all these people that we see is what our lives should be like. So we see these people doing makeup online, making thousands of pounds, becoming content creators, that we should automatically get that. You see these young people signing up to sort of Ponzi schemes and, you know, multi-level marketing schemes and all of these things. And it's a shock to our system when we come out of school and realise that actually 90% of people actually go to work every day. Sometimes they don't have an hour for lunch. Sometimes they have to stay back.
I know you are the only millennial on this panel, but why is it a shock that you have to go to work rather than learn how to do makeup and get a few people on Twitter to like you?
Because a lot of them come from uni, and what most people do at uni is drink. Most people don't have this... Exactly, drink and party. Yeah. I mean, I can say that my parents have not been so generous to say that everything you make, you'll double. I don't think I've ever had a sick day since I've been working. But I do understand sort of millennials that feel it's a shock to the system, that they don't just walk into this glossy life.
Do you know that there is something in America where you can go and rent designer clothes? Millennials do it. They take the pictures. It all goes up on their social because they're so competitive. You've got it. I want it. And all these kids in Gucci and Saint Laurent, and you're going like, what are you doing?
I think they need a big dose of reality. I think you're the most balanced millennial we've met. Thank you very much indeed. Right, coming up, my friends, as Elon Musk puts the finishing touches to his takeover of Twitter, we'll be asking whether the people who own big tech companies have too much control over our lives. This is The Talk, live on Talk TV. Coming right back.
Welcome back to The Talk, live on Talk TV. Former BBC Radio 1 DJ Tim Westwood has been accused of sexual misconduct by several women who say he took advantage of them and abused his position in the music industry. The women have come forward to tell their stories as part of a documentary. Here's one woman's account.
When I got there, he was in a car. It's an assumption, a complete assumption I've made that we're going somewhere to talk about the music. So I don't ask where we're going. And then the next thing, he's undone his trousers. He actually tapped me to turn around and look at the fact that he's exposing himself. So I've looked and I've seen and I'm like, oh no, oh no, like, oh my God.
Well, the DJ has denied all allegations. And Sharon, this keeps happening, doesn't it? These women take so long to come forward and talk about the abuses that they've had. Why do you think it takes them so long?
I don't think it takes them so long today because of Me Too. It has helped so much. But I think, I don't know when this happened to this lady, but years ago, women were afraid. They were very afraid, of course, of losing their job, then to have a bad reputation, and then once it got to court, they were demeaned terribly. Prosecution would go into their background, say you've had sex so many times, does this one really matter? All of those sorts of things, and where it makes you feel less than. And, of course, then there are some cases, like in everything, where men weren't guilty, where it was, you know, vendettas, or they felt rejection, so they wanted to get back at these people. So it goes around like this. But most of the time, honestly, it affects women mentally, you know that, and they don't want to be abused in court.
And one of the problems is, I think, is that within the entertainment industry, like the music industry, like the movies, that it's not just a case of get your head down, work hard. Somebody's got to open the door for you. And my daughter's a musician, and she got her first publishing deal when she was 14 years old. Now, I was very, very aware of predatory men in the industry, so I never let her go anywhere. I chaperoned her.
She is a songwriter.
She's a songwriter, she's a singer, she's a musician, and I never let her go anywhere. And if I couldn't go with her, I would make sure that somebody else would go with her, and drummed it into her very, very early on to be aware and to make sure nothing like that happens to her. But I know that you know of quite a few really unusual stories that have happened in the industry. I mean, back in the day, tell us some of the things that used to happen.
But it's not only back in the day, it's actually now. You can get a lot of male songwriters that, you know, have unbelievable records of, you know, #1 hits, one after the other, and pop singers, and you'll get all this group of beautiful young girls that want to be pop stars, and they can't write, so they go to these songwriters. Now, which one are they going to choose?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with producers as well. There was a big case about 5 years ago where this producer, funnily enough, only really produced female pop singers. And he was accused of belittling women and, you know, getting them drunk and then trying to sexually abuse them. But it goes on and on. Even people, guys that work at record companies. I worked at CBS network in the States, and the guy that was the CEO was abusing women for 16 years. He had 2 women on the payroll that were basically there for his satisfaction. And, you know, it's...
I just think that within this industry, women have to be taught, don't they? They just have to be taught to speak up straight away, and also to kind of put an armour around them to make sure that that this doesn't happen.
I don't think it's that easy, though, because one of the things that protects men, predatory men like this, like Harvey Weinstein, like evil men that shall not be named, is they're surrounded by these people that protect them. Their power structures in play. But what I must say is it's never as black and white as it seems. And what makes me nervous is when it's just an allegation, how society reacts to it. Because I say this to someone with a brother, and if he had a budding career in sort of media or sports or anything like that, all it takes is for one allegation to be made against him, false or not, and his career is over. I think, you know, we should be treating allegations just as that. I don't even think the public should know about them, not because we're not taking these women seriously, but because actually there are people on the other end of these men's families that it's horrible for them to hear about these things, and their careers can be really, really disrupted by it.
I sort of see that. I think that's a really balanced approach, actually. There's no doubt the world's changed. You're right, with Me Too and social media, that I'm not a big fan of, but actually it's given women, it's empowered women to come forward. And quite rightly that they should be believed and they should be able to do that. But you do have to acknowledge, as Esther says, that there are, I mean, you say it not to be mentioned, Saville, Stuart Hall, Rolf Harris, Weinstein, fantastic Me Too, right? Absolutely brilliant. There were others who will remain anonymous, who were accused of things that didn't materialise.
And destroyed their careers.
And you might sit here and go, there's no smoke without fire. But that immediately says to me, well, that person's been named and shamed, they're in the public eye, they are absolutely finished. That is not right. We have to find, I think, a system whereby women and men, but predominantly women, feel comfortable and confident enough to come forward and make those accusations. And I'm not sure it should be dealt with so publicly.
And come forward right away.
And that's the other thing. I mean, you look at... I said it about earlier in the meeting. Prince Andrew, horrible human being, don't want to be involved. But that lady, it took 14 years. Now, is that confidence, JJ? Is it because the world's changed, or is it because... Why did they wait so long? I'm not sure.
She waited so long. Sorry, JJ,
It's
you
okay.
start.
No,
go on, go on.
We'll shut up.
Listen, look, And Andrew, whilst we're on him, has denied all allegations. And with this case specifically, with regard to Tim Westwood, in his heyday, he was a massive deal. He was basically a rock star.
You worked with him, didn't you?
Yeah, I've worked with him several times. I've DJ'd with the guy on more than 5, 6 occasions. And there would be groupies, we call them that, there would be groupies around him. He would often go into the crowds after he's finished his sets and dance with women. I never saw him do anything untoward to people, but these accusations, these claims are not a surprise because there have been rumours about his behaviour for the past 15, 20 years. But I think these women who are coming forward would have been victim-shamed back then, and now is the right time for them
not believed, and so they're empowered.
I also think this is the thing. This is why it needs to be a sort of a two-pronged approach, because, yes, we do need to protect women, but I also think we need to encourage them to speak up sooner, because if I, for instance, if my family member 15 or 20 years down the line is accused by a woman of having, you know, committed sexual assault against her, I'm like, okay, where's the proof? He needs to be proven guilty for me to believe that. And in that interim, it's a very stressful time for my family. And I also think if there is no proof, I don't think the public should be vilified for reserving the right to not believe these women. It shouldn't always. We live in a society where law and order is basically paramount, and we should say, actually, unless you're proven guilty, we should try and limit as much as possible the effects it has on these men. But
that's surely the point. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
I wonder whether trial by media, to be perfectly honest, means that if you're in the public eye and you're outed immediately, are you guilty in the eyes of the world before? I don't know, but I mean, women should come
usually,
forward.
yes.
Yeah.
OK, well, let's move it on, guys. Following the news that the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, is buying Twitter, some users and staff have voiced their anger about the danger of the deal, with Jameela Jamil leading the charge of celebrities announcing they're quitting the platform due to the takeover. But what it's also thrown into focus is how much the individuals behind companies like Twitter have on our lives. Google spits out the search results it wants us to see and now even tells us what to type with its new inclusive language tool. Our social media algorithms are in the hands of either Californian liberals at Facebook or the Beijing-based billionaires behind TikTok. And our smart devices monitor our routines so intensely that the Amazon gadget Alexa will soon be able to join in your conversations without being asked.
Oh.
So, Sharon,
Don't.
Do these companies have too much control and power over our lives?
They don't have to if we don't want them to. But if you use everything in your home that is, what are those ladies called?
Alexa.
Alexa, whatever they are, whatever you call them, then your life is up to them listening into conversations, talking to you. They give you data around the world. So you pay for that, you want that, you know what comes with it. So if you know what comes with it and you're fine with it, then
but I also think it's unavoidable because we Google everything. I mean, I particularly find the monopoly that these companies, the monopoly these companies that have. The monopoly these companies have on our information, I actually find it very creepy, and it's very. It's like, how are we living in this world? Exactly, how are we living in this world? But also, you know, it's moving. These technologies are moving from reactive to proactive, and they're pushing their ideologies onto us. Google has this inclusive language function now, and it changes words from mankind to humankind and housewife to stay-at-home mother. And these are ideologies that are being shoved down our throats. It's no longer, you know, we live as we are and we choose to use the language that we want. They're actually recommending this language to us. And I think it's the same thing that Disney's doing as well. We didn't grow up as a bunch of weird misfits because we saw prince and princesses kissing.
A dream
and all
the word.
Exactly. But now they're pushing this down our throats, and it's becoming proactive. And there are people behind these machines and these technologies that are pushing this on us. And that's where I think the real danger is.
But it's what Mrs. O said. Sorry to sound... It's going to sound like my dad again. You invite... See, that's why I said earlier about writing letters. You've gone about this Google language. I don't even know what you're talking about. If we invite this in... No, I know you think I'm old-fashioned. This apparent thing called Alexa, which you put there and it tells you what to do.
I know.
You said you didn't know.
But I didn't know her name. I know what it does, but I didn't know her name.
I don't even know what it does. I fell out with the sat-nav because it tells me to go one way. And I go, I'm not listening to her, and turn her off. What I'm saying is there seems to be this insatiable desire... It's the millennials, it's you lot again, that seem to want to be having our lives wrong. I mean, Elon Musk, people are saying, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. they're never going to be happy whoever runs Twitter.
Yeah.
The fact is, right, the lefties will be upset if he's in charge, and he'll be upset if the council culture is in charge and all that. But the fact is, are we not all responsible, or am I just old-fashioned and boring, for inviting this? People are telling me that there's this thing in... I know what elections are, I'm not that stupid. In the House that you... I don't want to talk to something in the House. Why do I want to talk to something? Turn the lights on. Turn them on yourself. Write a letter. Goodness me, what's the matter?
Going back to Twitter, I think it's fantastic that Elon Musk is taking this over, because I'm hoping that all of these snowflakes who say they're going to leave, bye, off you go. And he is going to, I hope he puts Trump back on. I am a completely libertarian person. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that everybody should be able to say whatever they wanted. I'm not talking about inciting hate, but you should be able to have debates about it. That's the whole point of freedom of speech. That's what's so joyful about being in the West. But the thing about, I've got to say, that Zuckerberg, who's got Facebook, why aren't we all screaming about, do you know the power that he has? No one says anything about him, do they? But they don't want Elon to do it. And Facebook has 2.4 million users active every single month. Billion users active every single month. And nobody's saying he completely controls our communications with people and what goes on and the data that he's harvested.
I think he's a nutter.
I completely agree.
Mark Zuckerberg, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you not just technophobes? Is this the problem?
No, I love Twitter.
Listen,
I love Twitter, as long as it's free.
This is just the evolution of technology, people. Calm yourselves down. Remember you used to have Microsoft Word and you spell something incorrectly and it has a little red line to suggest to you that's the wrong spelling? That's the same as Google's inclusive language. This is all
educational and the other one isn't.
One tells you how to spell something and the other tells you shouldn't use the word that you want.
Invades your privacy.
If you don't want technology, Sharon, get rid of your mobile phone. Jeremy, don't buy an Alexa, and you don't ever use Google ever again, OK?
No, of course not.
I actually try not to. But I think that Twitter can be a fantastic tool for getting news that we don't get from the mainstream media, and that's why I think it needs to stay free.
From around the world.
From around the world, absolutely.
So we're keeping Twitter. We're agreed on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good grief. Right, coming up, with contactless payments becoming the preferred way to pay, is going cashless, excluding the elderly? We're discussing that next. This is The Talk, live on Talk TV.
Welcome back, my friends, for Talk Live on Talk TV. Now, ex-Prime Minister David Cameron has accused Muslim groups who criticise the Prevent programme, which aims to stop extremism, of, in fact, enabling terrorism. The former PM has also slated the government for failing to tackle claims the programme itself was Islamophobic. He also said that critics were guilty of passive tolerance for fear of appearing racist. Tonya, you have strong feelings about this, don't you? I
do agree. I think it's true. I think a lot of things aren't happening because people are so fearful of being looked at as racist, and we just have to stick to the numbers. 73% of prisoners in custody for terrorism are Muslim, and only 12% are Christian. So you have to put the money into protecting the people that need it. So if it's 73% of Muslim terror is happening and these people are getting caught, we need to put the money there. Whereas what we were saying before is that you might get 1,000 complaints about far right, and you might only get 400 about Muslim terrorists, but Islamic terrorists rather. But you can't just go with the 1,000 complaints because they're not the ones doing the crimes. You've got to look at the crimes that are being done, put the money into doing that, and police have to speak up. They mustn't be afraid of looking racist. What you're trying to do is prevent terror across the board, and whoever's doing it, you have to name them and go for them.
Couldn't agree more. You know, which means that you and I completely agree with Priti Patel, who says that we shouldn't be looking at particularly one group, all sides of extremism and terrorism. That's absolutely right, isn't it? But, you know, you bring in other parts of things, like the Rotherham gangs, and actually it shouldn't be about colour, race, creed or anything. It should be about the terrorism, extremism and things that are against society.
Extremism in religion.
Yeah.
Because that's the root of it.
Yeah, I mean,
religious
ideology.
Even white supremacists.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, one of the issues here is, with the Prevent scheme in particular, is it's woefully underfunded. I mean, in 2018, the government committed spending 30% more on it because they know that the scheme is not properly funded. And I think also we were afraid to look at the facts. You said you completely nailed it with the Rotherham grooming gangs. I mean,
Which
it
is
was
still going on.
Exactly. Such a blight on our police force. And it's so awful. But, you know, the statistics here show out of the 13 terror attacks in the past 5 years, 7 offenders were known to the scheme. Clearly, the scheme itself is broken, and we really need to start talking about actually how to make it work. And I think a huge part of that, other than the funding, is also about community trust, because to actually be able to weed out these individuals within these communities, you need to work with these communities.
Absolutely.
And that is the bigger issue at hand here.
And also, I also think maybe the communities themselves need to help us, you know. So, you know, if you know that there's a kind of far-right extremist about to do something within your community, first you've got to try and help weed them out, but also you've got to call them out once they're caught. And that's what I think needs to happen on both sides.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think, yeah, there is some truth in the fact that perhaps people are afraid of being labelled racist if they talk about this kind of thing. But I feel also with some corners, they're painting Islam as the problem, and it's not. 99.5% of Muslims are not the problem. It's that 0.5% who are the extremists, who, in my opinion, are not real Muslims then.
But if you apply that, then it's the same as she said to the 12% of Christians. You can't say we're not going to call these people racist because we might offend. Of course 99.9% of Muslims are absolutely fine, upstanding people. But we shouldn't not look at the 0.5% for fear of being labelling or labelling the others. I don't think that's right. I think it should be terrorism and extremism, whatever. That's
extremists
what I think.
And people who read the Quran, and they have a different take on it, because everybody seems to have a different take on it. One group will say it's about peace, then the others say it's not, that the world needs to be Muslim, everybody should be a Muslim, anyone that's not a Muslim should be killed. So it's the...
You're right, and you're right, it's about terror, full stop, not about any of the reasons.
But now, are the days of cash coming to an end? We're being told we're at risk of losing our cash economy, with half of the bank branches closing and a quarter of ATMs disappearing in the last few years. There are even 7 places in the UK that have absolutely no banks at all. But millions of us, including the elderly, are still reliant on notes and coins. So, is going cashless bad for society? JJ, what do you think?
Absolutely. We need to have cash in society. How is Jeremy going to ever do anything? Old man Jeremy, he needs to have that running through his
Oh, my
fingers.
God.
You know he does. You know?
Honestly, the lies that have been told about Sharon and I today, were accused of going out and drinking last night. Now we're too old and it's all about
this is
cash.
age abuse. Right,
It is absolute age
in
abuse.
this studio,
Yes,
it is.
It is. Forget your extremism and all your high tech. This is age abuse.
But on a serious point, growing up, I'd be given like £1 a day, and with that, I can go and buy my sweets, my chocolates, whatever, and I can count, and it teach me how to handle my money. But now, in the UK, almost 1 in 3 parents pay pocket money digitally, straight in. How is that going to help the kids learn anything?
Completely agree with you, mate.
It never will, and it teaches them to live on credit, on the never.
Yeah.
So it's so ridiculous. I went to get a coffee the other day.
Yourself? Somebody to get it for you?
How dare
you?
So they wouldn't take cash.
Wow. I don't think that's legal.
Why would you use a credit card to buy a cup of coffee?
There is another thing as well about, teaching kids the value of money. And this is... I mean, I know I've only just discovered Apple Pay and I had to be shown by the wife and I'm thinking all that. But actually, how much fraud happens online when people are paying with things by phone or cards get lost or stolen or numbers or details?
All the time by buying everything online with your credit card. It happens all the time.
I think a bit of cash in your pocket's good. You've got the old money clip, haven't you? You've got it all in there.
I wish.
Does no one else find it creepy that we're living in going towards a cashless society? I think it's so creepy that everything you spend your money on can be tracked, and I think that's the bigger problem here. It's not just the fact that people, the elderly or people that are that are used to spending cash. I just don't think it should be normal for every transaction you make to be tracked. How am I going to cheat?
But wow. Then again, it's Big Brother. There's nothing we do that cannot. Everything we do is traced. Everything.
And that's why it's actually very sinister, and that's why it's really, really important that we hang on to cash and we fight to hang on to cash. And it's up to us. If we decide, right, that's not going to happen, I'm going to hang on to cash. And also what you were saying is the fact that, the first time we negotiate any form of maths is when we were kids and my parents would give us money, go to the shops, buy this, make sure you get the great change. For me, that's a great thing.
And to saving. It teaches people not...
Are we going to go to church? And would you put it around? Oh, sorry, there's my Apple Pay.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
The Lord accepts Apple Pay. Hurrah.
Can you imagine? Imagine the sermon. We're not taking cash today at all. We all want you to pay. See, that's ridiculous. I think we agree, absolutely. Yeah. Cash for kids to learn the value of money, to prevent fraud, for old people like she and I to get a coffee.
So we should fight for it. We must fight for it. That's, I think, what everybody should go at and insist they use cash.
But then they say that they won't take cash, big amounts of cash, because then you're a drug dealer.
Brilliant. Wow, let's leave that there. Right, coming up. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. It's breaking news as Madonna splits with her 28-year-old toy boy after 3 years together with the 63-year-old Material Girl back on the market. The big question, now this is on me, isn't it? Do age gap relationships ever work? This is Talk TV Live. Don't start on Talk TV. Coming right back.
Welcome back to The Talk, live on Talk TV. So Madonna has split from her 28-year-old boyfriend and backing dancer, Alamalik Williams, after 3 years together. Now, it might not have worked out for the Queen of Pop, but for the actress Thandie Newton, it's a different story. She's been spotted kissing her toy boy lover, rapper Lona, following the split from her husband. The 49-year-old actress is reportedly dating the 25-year-old, who's only 4 years older than her eldest child. Now, Sharon, we see this a lot in Hollywood. Do you think these age gap relationships with women can work out?
Some of them do, of course, but the majority don't.
Okay.
But some of them definitely do. And I can't say that you can't, blanket. It's never going to work, it's disgusting. But if men can go with younger women, why can't women? I mean, I personally, they'd bore me to death. I'd end up strangling them. But for many women, they don't grow up, and so they would love it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with old women and younger men. I think it's fine. They get to an age, I assume, and they know what they want now.
Here we go. Here we go.
And I think, it's probably better for most women to date someone younger, more attractive, rather than someone who would perhaps be older and
grumpy,
a bit slower, doesn't know what Alexa is.
Stinky.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Hanging,
So obviously my wife's 18 years younger than me. Sorry, where is that from? Whoa. I do not stink, I hope. I'm a bit old-fashioned on this, though. I think actually it's wrong. Men can go with younger women, it seems. Why can't I?
It's not wrong. You know it's not wrong.
Listen.
What's not wrong?
I mean, it's not rocket science. We know the reason why older men tend to date younger women. It's part of the human condition. It's biology.
Hold on a second. I am going to say something now. You've spent 2 days telling me that all you're interested in is meeting somebody who's rich enough to put a big ring on your finger, and it's not about age or anything.
But why would I waste my youth? But the point is...
Well, I'm in love with my wife. It doesn't matter what age she is.
Why do we pretend like we don't know men like younger women for the beauty and fertility, and women like older men because they've accumulated more resources? It's not rocket science. And can I just say, this whole trend of women dating younger men, it's exclusive to Hollywood because they tend to be very well kept, they're rich, they're very well known women. Most 50-year-old women will not even attract a 20-something-year-old man.
Billion-dollar question, millennial.
Okay.
20-year-old billionaire tomorrow says, marry me. You won't care how old he is.
No, he's a fetus. Men under 30 are fetuses. Nope. Hell no.
Lord.
Can I do one moment there? Actually, I am, soon to be 54, and I have been chatted up by men in their 20s.
But you're gorgeous.
But I have turned around and said I've got knickers older than you. But can I just say that for me, there is nothing better than a kind of well-kept older guy. My husband is 57 years old.
Oh, good
He's
age.
got a better body than most of the young guys, and he looks after himself. So I think it's quite hard to find a well-preserved older man.
Why are you looking at me like I have a jar of pickle?
But, and that's what people aspire to. And that's why I think women don't get that. And so then they go for someone younger. But personally, I mean, I would find it so irritating to have to deal with the conversations of your lot.
I mean, I find it irritating. I only date older guys.
President Macron and the beautiful Brigitte.
That relationship is barely legal.
That's weird.
It's barely legal.
That was obsession.
Yeah.
That's like they make movies like stories that they have.
She's stalking.
He was in her arrested.
But if
She was his school teacher.
It does show outside of Hollywood, it can work. So, Sharon, if I asked you to marry me, you'd say, no, you turn me down? Is your toy boy? Is that what you're saying?
Never turn you down, ever.
Wow.
She has to say that.
No, I don't.
Wait till you see his hairy chest. You just get the lawnmower. I was like, let's sort that out first. I'm just saying.
I don't quite know what to say. I genuinely am quite speechless. I'll tell you what, we'll move on. Right, short and sharp debates from our panel now. It's time, my friends, for small talk. Mrs. O.
Yes, darling.
Let's start the older generation discussing a small talk. You've got the first one, dear.
Yes, I'd like my glasses, please.
Can we have a glass? No.
Right. This is an Irish lottery winner who has given away more than half her 115 million fortune. Says she's addicted to giving to others. Now, isn't that lovely? Frances Connolly won the Euro Millions in 2019 and estimates she has given £60 million to charities, family and friends, but she doesn't keep an exact tally, and jokes that she'd be worried that her husband would find out. So, would you give away lottery money?
Hell no.
Why did I know you were going to say
Hold on.
that?
First of all, this is lunacy. If I had that kind of money, I would buy an island near Guam. I'd fill a bathtub every night with my money, and I'd bathe in it, and I'd just rub it all over me. You wouldn't even know that I have that kind of money. I'll change my name. I would literally be...
Thank you, because I find Kraku really difficult to say, to be honest, so that would be good.
That
would be great.
I actually think that, you know, it would be very lonely to do that. And if I had that type of money, I would take great joy and pleasure in giving it away.
Your money can keep you company.
No, and also, but I wouldn't tell anybody. I'd do it really discreetly.
Yeah, they do.
I used to watch that show, Secret Millionaire, and think, how lovely must that feel to be able to help someone in that way?
I think real philanthropists
I'd love to do
don't
that.
tell other
They
people.
don't.
Exactly, wouldn't tell anybody.
They don't.
No, that's right.
And I would do exactly the same as what's her name?
Tonya.
Frances. Frances, you're a good lady. I would do the same.
I'd split it across the family, yeah. Even as far as some cousins, I would say. But you guys have got that kind of money, haven't you? You should be donating.
I'm looking
for it.
I'm just saying.
Where's your bag, Mrs. O? Honestly, there's a lot of assumptions that we're old, we can't understand technology, we've got lots... It's wrong, isn't it? Esther, you've got the next one.
I do. So would you take, ladies, would you take the just before pill? So taking the pill every day could soon become a thing of the past for women who are on contraception. Stanford University researchers have discovered what they claim is a promising on-demand therapy. So listen to this. It is women taking the pill just before they get freaky instead of taking it every day. Now, would you take it? No. No.
No.
Can you imagine before you get...
No. I'm...
How about taking it before you go out?
No, that's even worse.
That's expecting it, though.
Sharon, the whole thing is I think this is an obscenity. I really do. I mean, the whole thing is that you're supposed to... What's happened to love and to romance? And also, do you seriously want to take this pill? It's going to muck about with your hormones before you go out?
I'm totally against it.
There's nothing about this that is right. Everything about it is wrong.
I'd want to see the side effects, and you'd want to see that it's been properly researched, you know, like a 10-year, whatever they have to do to get it, you know, legal and on the market. But white people, sex lives are all different. Some people don't have to love the person that they go with. Some people do. And so I would take it if I went out at night.
But you know what's really funny? There have actually been trials for a male pill, and they were seen to be 99% effective. And, you know, there are 3.1 million women on the pill in the UK. So, you know, I think it might be fair for men to...
Well,
JJ would take on that.
Before my good friend
never
JJ...
gonna do that.
So why do women always say that men wouldn't? I just wanted to say this before he jumps in and tops me right in it. Taking a pill just before you start getting freaky, I don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, we've gone from going out and getting drunk and being talked about in the Daily Mail. You've now accused me of taking a pill. I don't know what... Shocking, Mrs. O.
Let's bring it back down to something far more beautiful, an olden era of Downton Abbey. In the TV series, her first grey star scenes, during the time of austerity in 2010, I don't know why they're making this parallel, so I don't like it. And they're saying it's coming back out again now during another time of austerity. 120 million viewers watched it around the world, and the first film grossed £154 million. But for me, it's all about the romance. And it's all about being taken away, transported to an era of another time, and it's all about the Dowager Countess. This one's for you. Oh. Vulgarity is no substitute for wit.
You've got 30 seconds. I'm not speaking. Go.
Excuse me, it's fantastic series. I love it. You have to say goodbye now. Go on.
It's
no, we're all right.
It's not for me. Not for me. I want to relax.
You don't like Downton?
No, boring. I want to relax with Narcos and some true crime documentaries. No time for Downton Abbey. So.
Narcos or nachos?
Narcos.
Honestly, I thought he said nachos.
Somebody turn his hearing aid on, please.
Pardon? Listen, thank you so much indeed. That's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to our panellists. The amazing Sharon Osbourne. What are we going to do tonight? Honestly, I'm slightly worried.
I'm going out with JJ.
Oh, right. Honestly. Gutted. Sharon, Esther Kraku, thank you very much indeed. Tonya Buxton, well done. JJ and Nisiobi, thank you for being here. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow night, same place, same time, 9 o'clock. It's called The Talk on Talk Television. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow.